Who's Ray?
Ray Share, the Guitar Center guy.
Who?
The founder of Guitar Center.
Oh, wow. Yeah, 56 and 57 convertibles. That's...
You speak his language.
Oh, yeah. You know, I don't care. You know, well, turn it back. I can tell you what they are.
Of course you can.
56 T-Bird, 32 Roadster, 33 Roadster. The foreign job, I don't know. I don't know foreign cars. I can't really see the other ones in the back.
That'll be an Alfa Romeo, and then the ones in the back. Yeah, okay, that's the Alfa Romeo. That's Ralph Lauren's Alfa Romeo Lagonda.
Wow.
Circa 1934.
Orange Crush.
Ah! Good catch. Good freaking catch.
Yeah.
Damn, you have eye like an eagle. I will tell him you eyeballed them all.
Up and at them.
Pardon?
Up and at them.
Yep. I see we're live.
We are live. Let's see. Let's tap on that.
A story worth telling. You have a minute?
Yeah, we should.
I went out to Rivers End Pub and Restaurant to see some friends play this afternoon. And in the midst of the performance, it's a wonderful roadhouse. Geez, it's 1967 Arkansas, right off the 14. I loved it. I loved it. I got talking to the owner, and I said, I have to go because I've got this radio show, and of course I'm talking about the show. And he said, well, damn, we're all going to be listening in here. And I said, that's kind of delightful here. You know, sometimes you're Southern California, a little careful what you say and who you say it to. He says, let me explain something. Sylmar, 6 miles that way. Free America, that side of the hill.
Yeah.
You got a couple of new fans.
What is going on with the sound here? It keeps blopping in and out. I hope it don't bop when we're... We got some guns in this week. Oh my gosh.
What'd you get? You're always getting something cool.
We got in a collection of long range stuff from Cardiff by the Sea.
Down south.
Way down there. Yeah, almost.
That's
Yeah, oh yeah. This house was I can't remember any of the damn makers, but one of them, it's literally 5.5 feet tall, weighs about 40 pounds. It's in 375 Shaytac.
Shaytech, that's like 416. That's built for that.
Yeah, it's the gun. It's U.S. optic scope to go 2 miles, and the Dillon reloader, which is the big 50 cal reloader with the dies, and a whole bunch of brass. It's $15,000 worth of stuff. It just and in beautiful condition.
Man,
I just
Yeah.
feel like we should be hearing shit.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. You need to find Kevin because there's no sound anywhere. I got no sound in my earmuffs.
He just said everything's good though.
Well, yeah, except it ain't here.
Maybe in your world.
Yeah.
I have nothing here. Is it possible the amplifier's maybe not turned
No,
on?
because it's definitely, because it was playing.
I have now exhausted my technical expertise.
Okay. I got nothing in these dudes.
Because somebody wanted to come in early and do a spot.
Oh yeah, that pain in the ass guy.
How's that?
It was on. We could hear her show, and it just poof.
Oh, because I had it up on the board in there, and then I.
Oh, so I'm sorry. Whose was that?
It was, no, but I fixed this
Yeah,
before you
yeah.
went to air.
All right, all right. You got my Coke. You win.
Sooner or later, you're gonna bring that.
Oh, yes.
I was trying to set cameras.
Sorry,
up.
I'm sorry, I was using this as a
Lost
stand.
count of how many boxes.
Well, if you stand for nothing, you
Sorry.
fall for everything.
There you go.
Ah, you funny guy.
Huh, watch, it'll look nice behind them.
There you go. Hey, you're a funny guy. When you do back in Boys Town, huh?
Now I have my own room and decorated it myself. And just it's mine to keep.
You have room in your home
There we are.
or your heart.
Or you're hurt. Or you're hurt.
Anyway, he had about 25 of those long range.
Was this someone who was a long range guy, or was this like former special forces?
He was a long range, big time aficionado.
Clearly.
The company in England, AW.
I'm going to know who they are because like Christian. It's not Christensen.
No. Oh, here we go, guys.
Sponsored by the Gunslingers.
Hello, Mr. and Mrs. America and all the ships at sea. You're listening to Gunslingers, brought to you from behind the Iron Curtain on Radio Free California.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Gunslingers right here on.
The Gunslinger Syndicated Radio Network.
That's us.
Yep, live.
From San Diego to San Francisco, from LA to Phoenix to Las Vegas.
And all over the internet, folks. That's on all your streaming service. That's YouTube, Facebook Live, X, Rumble. We are there. We are live. Go ahead and when you're in there, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and put up your questions. We've got a great guest tonight, and we have Rick from the CRPA coming on. So any questions, comments, anything you need to know, make sure you're either calling.
Well, and if they're going to call, what's the number?
866-870-5752. Again, 866-870-5752, or leave your comment in the comment section.
All right, and we got our wandering musician back.
He is back,
so,
folks.
Mark is here, so we got the band back together.
Hey, the boys are
Now,
back
I wanted
in
to say,
town.
should we say we put the fun in guns or we put the sin in syndicated?
Yeah,
Looking for my
Yes, nod with approval.
yeah, I'll go for both. Yes. So, for those of you who have not heard us or are just tuning in, what we are is a fun with guns, and we try and stay out of politics. Of course,
Try our
we
best.
do have Rick from the CRPA coming on in the next segment, and he will cover pretty much all the politics and let us know what the Democrats are trying to do to us this week. But as far as that, and then at the bottom of the hour, we've got a guest. Now, most of you guys are never going to heard of this guy. His name is Scott. He is from the Midwest, and well, let's just put it this way. One night I was sitting at home. Wednesday night is Night at the Range on the Outdoor Channel. Yep. And I'm watching it, and Shooting USA comes on, and they have this guy on who is the utmost authority on everything 1911.
1911.
And they did a whole big long segment with him, and I was just sitting there and looking at the stuff that he has and the things that he's had and so on and so on. And I was just absolutely knocked out. And I went, you know what? one of these days I got to hunt that guy down. Well, a couple of auctions ago, we had a Colt Ace. Now, for those of you that don't know, again, what a Colt Ace is this is a 1911 in 22.
This is not a conversion. This
is the actual gun made in 22. Now, this came with a Colt letter. It was an absolutely pristine condition. The Colt letter said that it was made in the 1930s and sent to the Navy. Now, it sold for high five figures.
Let's say.
Yeah, we'll just say high five figures.
That is.
Yeah, because this is super scarce, very rare, and very collectible. And the gentleman that bought it sent 3 pictures to Scott.
Only 3.
3 pictures, and he said it's fake.
From the pictures.
From the pictures.
From-
And so the gentleman called me and said, I'm sorry, but that gun's not real. And I'm, what are you talking about? Get out of here with this. What are you talking about over here? And so he says, no, the guy, I sent him 3 pictures, and I go, you can't tell that from pictures. There's no way. I'm sorry, but no. And so he says, let me give you his number. So he gave me his number, and I called him.
Apparently, Mr. 1911 can.
Yeah, and I called him. I said, "Hi, Scott. This is Jeff from Gunslinger Auctions, and apparently we've got a gun that's in question." And he said, "Oh, okay. What's the?" And I said, "It's a Colt Ace." He goes, "Oh yeah, that's a system of frame." I mean,
What?
how can you tell that from 3 pictures? He goes, oh, it's easy. Look, just take the grip off. Okay, so I took the grip off. He said, take the backstrap, the safety out. Da, 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 da. He says, now, you see that number? It's going to start with a 7 and a 9. I'm like, uh-oh.
Holy
You've
smokes.
got to be kidding me.
He does
From 3
know.
pictures, he nailed this gun that was authenticated by Colt. So, and-
Okay, now you know what? That's my favorite part of this story.
I mean, unbelievable. Not only was it authenticated, it had sold at another very high-end auction. I won't name names, but a very reputable, very high-end auction company.
and they sold it as authentic.
As authentic, and the gentleman sold it or bought it for a considerable, but not as much as we sold it for, but a considerable amount of money. So I just thought, wow, I've got your number. I said, if you don't mind, one day I'm going to call you. And so I finally got a hold of him. We talked, and so he's going to be our guest at the bottom of the hour.
How cool to have that level of expertise
Seriously.
in the room. But you know
Yeah.
what? That's why you listen to the Gunslinger Hour.
That's right. Well, the Gunslinger Show.
Just the whole show. Come on, baby.
So anyway, that's going to be our guest. And, if you've got questions, feel free to send them to Jimmy on the internet.
Yeah, definitely.
And we'll try and squeeze them in because I got a few myself.
Yes.
But how the hell did you do that?
Right? Mr. Magic. Is the 1911 is that not the premier? I recognize a lot of people like Glocks and Smiths. Is that not the premier handgun in the United States of America?
Oh, easily.
That's the
And
platform.
it has been since 1911.
There's been-
1911.
There was
It's-
something like 152 makers
Yeah.
of that gun.
Yeah, at least. And there's still to this day.
And apparently he can eyeball a Sistema from a picture.
And all the stuff had been shaved off just absolutely gorgeously. It had a beautiful tone to it. I mean, this thing was just like, wow. So for those of you wondering, so here's what we did. I refunded the man his money, of course, because you can't.
Right.
Okay.
No, yes.
And so we relisted it as a Colt Ace upper with a Sistema lower. Looks beautiful. Comes with a Colt letter that unfortunately
It means nothing.
means next to nothing. But
That letter should be worth something. That's like a misstrike at the mint, right?
Kind of, sort of.
Anyway.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. So I think we ended up getting $2,000 for it.
Even still.
Yeah,
Come on, folks.
because the top was nice and it was a low number. So that, but other than
That's
that,
a great story, man.
Yeah, it was. This is a thing, stuff that happens to you. You cannot be an expert in absolutely everything. And
Listen, the point at which Colt says, "Yeah, that's one of ours."
Yeah.
you got to feel pretty good about that.
you do, and
he was right.
and they got us. And so before we get going too long, I want to thank again our good friends Leon the Motor Man and George the Airplane Man
Yes.
for coming on and doing a Motor Slinger show with
The
us.
Motor Slingers. That was great. Thanks, guys.
They were so jazzed when we left. They were like, "Do we have to wait till September?" So we're going to figure out a date, and we're going to have them back in August.
Sweet.
But here's what I want, guys. I want more phone calls from you guys. If Leon's gonna, he comes out of retirement just to help us on our show. Damn it, call.
show your love. Make sure, I know you guys are not done with your car questions out there,
No.
or trying to pick the minds of those two
Or
gentlemen.
just say thank you for 43 years on air.
Let's.
Of automotive and broadcasting excellence.
Yeah.
There's a very good chance that Leon will remember your call from before, way back in the day.
Yep.
He remembers all his fans are like his family. You know that. So show a little love to that guy, man.
Yep.
Please.
And speaking of Leon fans, let's get to Richard at the airport.
Real one.
Like how I segue him every week.
You're the best.
What's going on, Richard?
Good evening, you slick holster gunslinger.
Ding, ding, ding.
What's going on, Richard?
Yeah, I've got a question. What do you think, in your opinion, is the best BB gun nowadays? To purchase a BB gun?
Well, let me get this out right off the bat. You're talking BB guns or BB or pellet guns? Because pellet guns are a whole different critter. We just took one in for auction for September yesterday. That's a $1,500 pellet gun. You know, BB guns like
1,500, folks.
yeah, BB guns like those are Red Riders.
$49.
Yeah, I
The
bought my
Daisy.
first one at Gemco for I think $4.99, and it was a
About right.
Winchester 94.
Break your knuckles when you try to work the lever.
forget. Yeah, you cannot do it.
But a modern pellet rifle, those things go 1,500 feet per second.
Easily, and you can get them up to 25 caliber.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, you can actually do damage with those things. So I would say, in a pellet gun, boy, Walther makes them. Diana
A
makes them.
bunch of European makes.
Yeah, and
the technology on them is stunning.
And I don't know any American companies that are really doing much in pellets.
Dan
these days.
Weston still
Well-
does make a BB gun as well.
Oh, well, there you go. But go
You
ahead.
know, the old days in the 40s and 50s, the BB guns were very good quality.
Yeah.
But are they that good now?
No, they're not. They're plastic. The old Red Rider that came with a wood stock.
Yeah.
With the Red Rider,
And maybe
insignia
a compass
and-
in the stock if you're lucky.
Yeah, and those things were really good, really cool, and they could put your eye out. But that's another story. Richard, we got to go. Give us your joke.
Okay, J. Paul Getty is starting to sell hot tubs, and they're called spaghetti.
Spaghetti, you meatball. Hey.
All right, Richard. Thanks. We'll talk to you
God
next
bless
week.
you, Richard.
Bye-bye. All right. Hey, as promised, we will be back. Yeah, I always play this song for Jimmy.
Love it.
He left out his business partner, Al Dente. Sorry, go on.
All right, Al Dente. We'll be back with Rick from the CRPA right after this. You're listening to
The Gunslingers Syndicated Radio Network. Let's go.
Somebody needs to get back in the booth. The phone's ringing. Oh,
They're all wandering, getting sodas.
yeah, I'm smoking a.
They say, this machine work?
I want a candy bar. Damn it!
I am not leaving.
Hey, Old Bark. I think it's Mark and Bass, Mr. Enigma, Hendo. Great to see you guys. Love you guys. Thank you for joining us. Everyone on YouTube. I think that's Max Claymore. I think that's we have a.
Max Claymore, that's pretty strong.
Yeah, jumping on a couple streams. Thank you very much. Robert's on there. Jim. Thank you guys for all being on. I love you guys.
See why you think you belong to me. Like you think will make you see one way for yourself. Welcome back, everybody, to Gunslingers right here on.
The Gunslinger Syndicated Radio Network.
And once again, folks, the guys, everybody that's listening online, we can't play the music there anymore. They keep kicking us off and they keep threatening to remove us forever. So the only time you're going to hear the music is if you have us on radio. So just pick up your phone, go to iHeartRadio, and pick up AM 870, and you can hear the music along with the rest of us. That was Amy, by the way. So, anyhow,
We didn't get to the chorus.
Yeah, well, because that's the other thing. We got
have
20
20
seconds.
seconds.
We still only have 20
Just so
seconds.
you know, that's why we were always
on
cutting
air.
it short. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's get to Rick at the CRPA. Rick, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Hey,
Hanging
welcome,
in there,
Welcome
hanging in
back,
there.
Rick. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, it's good to be back. So, going up to the Capitol tomorrow
Oh,
to
boy.
return to play with the children before they go on to recess on the 18th. And we'll be working on 3 different bills. So I'm going to go over those fairly quickly with you. The first one will be Senate Bill 248. That, of course, is now in the Assembly, so we'll be in public safety there. And that is the bill that's designed to intimidate new owners of firearms and people that receive firearms as a result of a member of their family passing and moving it through a will or a trust. So we'll obviously be fighting that. And then over on the Senate Public Safety are 2 horrible bills. Of course, it's AB 1127, probably the most famous bill still going, which is the Glock ban bill, as it's known, which is going after the little converter piece. And even though it's already illegal, even though there's all sorts of laws that stop this to happen, it's why we keep telling people this has nothing to do with public safety. It has to do with taking out a particular brand of firearms. In this case, it's Glock. So if this bill gets passed, whatever Glocks are inside places, they'll be able to get that and just, take it away from everybody. They won't be able to take away the ones you own, but they'll take away the right for you to sell it or the right for you to ever purchase one here in California.
Wow.
So obviously that's illegal. Obviously that flies against the Bruin decision, the Supreme Court. So when everybody starts telling me that's illegal, it's unconstitutional, that's exactly what we're going to be telling them yet again. And that's really important because we just had a hearing on a couple of different cases in the Ninth Circuit where the 3-judge panels, one that was practically all Obama appointees, told the state of California, you can't keep playing these games. You can't limit people's rights to purchase firearms. You can't take certain brands off the shelf, but that doesn't stop them from trying. So, and this bill is being carried by Gabriel, who is the same person that gave us the excise tax that we also do not like. And then there's Gibson, who this is the one I really struggle with a lot of people in our community. It's AB 1263. It's called the Ghost Gun Bill. There's a lot of people are like, well, you shouldn't have a ghost gun. I want to be really clear. The vast majority of firearms, the way this is defined, were ghost guns because they had no serial numbers on them for literally hundreds of years of this country's history. This also goes after a right that George Washington bestowed on all of us, which was the right to build your own firearm, the right to be able to experiment in building firearms, because he thought that was an American thing that Americans should be able to do.
American ingenuity.
And so what they're trying to say is, you guys know at Gunslingers, sometimes finding a part for a firearm that was either rare or there weren't that many of them made, or it's older, or the company's run out of business is near impossible. But if you have a diagram of those parts, you can make them on a CNC machine or a 3D printer, etc. This bans all of those options. So this literally makes firearms less safe. So those will be the 3 bills that we'll be fighting this week as we wind down towards the 18th.
Oh my goodness! It just literally, we've said this time and time again. Around every corner, they're trying to stop us to stay armed and stay protected. They don't want us fixing. They don't want us buying. They don't want us producing. Literally,
They want us armless.
Yes.
Period.
So
The death by 1,000 cuts.
Yeah.
Because as you are so fond of saying, an unarmed people are subjects.
Yep. Go ahead, Rick.
No, I mean, you guys are spot on. So that's what's going on. We have some things that look like they may start to move into court. So, but I don't want to get too excited because, as we all know, sometimes the judge is like, "Oh, look at, just kidding," and then they wait for a while. But what I do know is we have a couple bills that have moved towards the governor's desk. So now we have to see if he's going to sign those. But if he does, those will be some of the first positive two-way bills, and one of those deals with FFLs and your security system. So. We're pushing back, we're fighting back, and we'll just have to see what happens in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Rick, got a quick question. I don't know if it's in the wheelhouse of California biz and all that, but one of the commenters in YouTube wanted to know about the loss in court by Mexico to sue firearm makers. If you've heard about that, if you know anything about that.
Yeah, they lost the ability. they're losing the same kind of court cases here to go after the firearms manufacturers. They're losing, but yet you still have attorney generals and mostly blue states that keep trying to do this. There's this attitude on our opposition. It's really striking. It's a great question, Jimmy, that they're willing to run, as I've said over and over on this show over the years, they're willing to run the same exact bill over and over and over till they get it passed.
Mm-hmm.
Our community tends to be one and done. We run it. If it doesn't pass, well, it is what it is, and that's just the way it is. They don't.
No.
They keep doing it. They keep pushing it. They keep fighting it. I mean, you have people like former Senator Portantino, who had numerous bills that got passed, and every single one of them to date has been ruled unconstitutional. All the stays went in. They never did anything, but that didn't stop him every time, no matter how many of us told him you can't do that, from doing it. So I tell people all the time, this is part of the fight, and part of it is we have to keep fighting.
Yeah, and not only do they just keep trying to ram it back down, they gut and amend. They try to sneak it in every way they can. So you have thank you to the CRPA for always being on your toes to watch out for those type of things and trying to sneak something by us. So thank you so much.
Well, in honor of our 250th anniversary, this is my own personal thing I started doing. I started telling people every time some leftist tries to come after us, I'm like, oh, you must be British. And they're like, what? And I'm like, well, the British started this crap up with us 250 years ago, and now you're continuing those footsteps. I just figured you were British.
Hey.
So,
ouch.
And the way they're going.
And the way they're going right now, that's right. They outlawed firearms there, and now you're getting jailed for posting things on the internet. We need to be as dedicated to our rights as they are dedicated to their dogma.
So, exactly.
Yeah, very true. So, okay, well, I know I hate to do it, but
he's shaking his head, Rick.
It wouldn't be fun with Jeff.
hey, I resemble that remark. Anything?
No.
Hey, okay.
I know.
With the summer coming, I know a lot of things kind of get.
Yeah, I just love it. I just wait on the show to like, do I get the Band-Aid off now, or do I give myself 2 more seconds?
It's like slamming your hand in the car door, isn't it?
Well, it's not his fault. I just want to know if there's been any kind of movement. And
well, the Supremes are out of session now until October.
Right.
So
right.
But
I'll make you the promise. If anything breaks, I'll call you even before the show so you can play really cool music.
Okay. Well, yeah. I was the stupid excise tax.
Of course.
Is what I'm talking about. And
11%.
That's not gone to the Supremes yet. That's still here in California. We're waiting for a judge.
That's so unconstitutional. That's the equivalent of a poll tax. That needs to be slapped down.
It's not just in California, guys. There's 6 other states that it's waiting in those courts as well.
Well, yeah, and in 2 days, that law will be 1 year old.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, July 1st of last year is when that started, and
I know
we expected this thing to be 1 or 2 days, and boy, oh boy,
how they can keep.
I mean, you guys remember the 2571, which went after all the kids and the advertising, and the governor grandstand on that.
Yeah.
That one just went through the Ninth Circuit Court on a 3-judge panel, and the judges slapped the state silly. We haven't got the decision yet, but I would have hated being the state attorney because all 3 of those judges, and they're not conservative friends of us, told them, you're wrong, and you're wrong on this level, this level, this level. I mean, they just went after them. So I'm excited to see what they come out with, but as we all know, that could be a month or 2 before they actually
Well, do you think they're going to go after what's the en banc? Is that after the 3-judge?
I don't know if they will. I mean, right now this has been normally I would have said yep. But this has just been a very interesting year with the budget crisis and a lot of other things going on. And there's a couple things that are really positive. I just don't want to say anything to jinx it yet. But when it comes through, I will break it down with you guys and say, some of this stuff is really incredible. There's some very positive movements that are happening.
Yeah,
love to.
Well, we got a couple of good ones from the Supreme Court before they recessed for the summer too. So, okay, well, Rick, good to hear you, and
glad you're back and you're safe.
Yeah, good luck tomorrow, and we'll talk soon. Anybody wants to join? Anybody wants to donate their time or their money? How do they get a hold of you?
CRPA.org. And if they have questions, reach out to us at contact@crpa.org. And God bless you guys.
God
Thanks, sir.
bless
Same to
you.
you, and good luck up in Excremento.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Rick. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Yeah, folks, if you haven't yet, please make sure you're supporting the CRPA and all that they do, not just for California, but for this country. They're at the forefront of protecting our rights,
Yep.
folks.
Yep. And if it wasn't for them, we would be sunk.
Yeah. And
I mean, we would literally be at some kind
And
of a
again-
revolution at this point.
And again, not just us, because this spreads like a virus to all the other
Well,
states.
like I always say, liberalism is a mental disease, and disease spreads. You know, you can hide in Arizona, you can hide in Missouri, you can hide wherever, but it's going to get there sooner or later.
That miasma is a fog that rolls in.
Okay, when we get back, we're going to have Scott from Gayheimer from back east, the 1911 man. We do have Tom, Captain Rick, and Jay. Guys, hold on. As soon as humanly possible, we'll get to you. You're listening to Gunslingers right here on...
The Gunslinger Syndicated Radio Network.
And we're going to listen to the Stray Cats on the way out of here. Magic anymore. I got a strange suspicion that it's been going on for some time now. Shine in your eyes. Man, it's up there.
Yes. I don't think he's singing them up there anymore.
No.
He's still playing pretty good.
This is in the key of D, and I think he does it in A now.
I think we all know how that goes.
Oh yeah. Well, he's I think a year older than me, so 65, 66.
He did start having some hand problems too.
He has a real hand issue, and it seems to be coming back now.
That's heartbreaking. That's a guy.
That's
That's a very good run. But for 40 years, that's how the guy literally defined himself.
Yeah.
And brought a lot of cool stuff to the world.
yeah.
Why'd I go to the doctor? My heart would race just to get myself to practice. It didn't feel right. So I got checked out. Turns out I have
A
atrial
bunch of
fibrillation.
rockers from that era that are in worse shape than he is.
Oh yeah.
As in Dave.
Well, he was a heavy drinker, I guess, for quite some time, but he's given that up. He looks a lot better these days. So good on him. All right, Scott's on there.
I'm so glad.
I'm looking forward to this.
Me too.
And what a great way to make that. What a great way to make that connection. That is a freaking great story.
I was mind boggled. It's just, come on. What's 3 pictures and you've nailed this thing? And
we've got the
everything-
cult. We've got the cult letter.
everything he said was spot on. He said, remove this. See that? Yeah. Okay. Now take this out. See that? Oh shit. Yeah. It's like, yeah, that's a cult systema. Cult systema is a South American
Manufactured under license.
Yeah, Argentine-made 1911 frame back in the 30s, I believe.
And a very good gun.
Yeah,
But
it ain't no Colt Ace.
And good on you for handling it the way you did. That's a little bit of a ass kicking for you, but you know
Well,
what?
Hey, on the up and up. That's all it is.
Yeah, you
And
gotta
boy, what
be.
does that do for your reputation? You were the guy, because you said it had been resold by another high-end auction house.
Yeah.
You were the guys that ferreted out the
Well,
phony.
and the best part was the consigner, a true gentleman, was like, "Oh, that's a bummer. Just go ahead and resell it as what it is."
Hey, that's a.
He's a real good guy. Because that's never a phone call you want. Hi, yeah, you got $16,000 gun. Yeah, it didn't sell, and it's fake. What?
Yeah, that could have gone sideways.
Oh, in a
ruined my
big ass
dinner.
hurry.
Don't shoot me, man. I'm
Yeah.
the messenger.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to deliver the bad news. Man, that's like going to the coffee counter and your $100 bill's fake. We got to keep it.
Yeah.
Wait, I had $100 a minute ago.
That's all I got.
With Jen and Grant, these wearing the mask is a cool thing to do.
But you know what? One more phony out of the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the covering of the face, but I would be accepting of that in certain situations. If they're showing identification, what I cannot get behind under really any circumstances is that you're not showing a badge. You should know who you're going with if you are being taken somewhere.
The Morning Answer with Jen and Grant. Weekdays starting at 6 a.m. on AM 590. The Answer. The Morning Answer with Jen and Grant.
Sheriff Luna, here's the original post. Quote, our hearts go out to the victims and families impacted by the recent bombings in Iran. Victims.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was a faux pas, huh?
It was a military success to be celebrated that will stop future deaths from being created by a nuclear-armed Iran.
The Morning Answer with Jen and Grant. Weekdays starting at 6 a.m.
My
AM 870.
my comments in Facebook
It's on our website.
are not propagating. Ooh.
Born in a barn. Mama died and my daddy got drunk. Left me here to find alone in a place called Tobacco Road. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back,
pop,
everybody. Right? I love that song.
That's
The Nashville
good.
Teens, about 1964, I think. Great song. Actually, not their original song. They copied it. Let's get to our guest, Scott Gayheimer. Scott, what state are you in?
I'm in Indiana.
Indiana. Okay, very good.
Thanks for coming in and joining us, Scott.
Yeah,
Pleasure.
thanks, man.
Yeah, we appreciate it. And boy, where do you want to jump in?
Yeah.
I've got like 10,000 different questions, and I know we got a ton on the internet coming in.
Yep.
Let me just start with a really easy one. Of any 1911 you could ever have, what's the one that you don't, but that you still want?
Well, I don't have a first day production gun.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
That's
Yeah,
all.
there were 50 of them, so I guess you
Wow.
know there's a little bit of chance of getting one, but I missed a couple, and you know, so that is still a hole.
Well, a big hole.
Yeah, that's a pretty
Yeah.
hard get. Yes,
Yeah.
I understand that.
We Gunslinger auctions a few years back. We had Winchester 1873 serial number 6. It's the lowest one known to exist, and it came out of absolute nowhere. So that was a big
That's
thrill.
a big
yeah,
That's
boy.
not a first day gun. That's a first hour gun.
yeah, it really is, and it went for well into the six figures. So it was a lot of fun to sell.
Scott,
Yeah, number 3 showed up here. A few years ago when I wrote an inspection on it. When that gun was being auctioned, it came out of the woodwork.
Wow.
And wasn't very good condition. It wasn't completely original. So, you know, I hate to say it, but number 3, I really didn't want to buy it, but, you know, it was really nice to handle.
I can imagine. Scott, question: since you have this such in-depth knowledge about 1911s, what inspires you to kind of engulf yourself with this particular firearm? Where does this all come from?
Well, when I was active duty Army back in the 70s, I was an Army MP. It was a duty weapon. I taught at the military police school and, you know, and started collecting and, you know, buying 45s. I probably, you know, bought guns for, you know, 8 or 10 years before I really realized that I was a collector.
Oh,
That seems about right.
Yeah, I just thought I was an accumulator, and you know, I had an 01 license, and I used that license primarily to support my own hobby.
Lots do.
smart move.
Yeah.
You must have handled some really choice firearms in the course of just your professional duties in the military. I mean, pretty much they just rebuild these things until they're rattling sideways as much as they are fore and aft, don't they?
You know, yes. Now, rifles, they went in regularly, you know, for repairs. The pistols actually never went in for repair or rebuild unless they needed servicing. A lot of things were done at, you know, unit levels, but when something went to an ordnance depot or an arsenal to be rebuilt, they went through the guns and separated all the unserviceable parts from, the parts that could be reused, and, parts were parts. They assembled pistols and they went out the door. But, I saw a lot of weapons while I was on duty, but you really don't think about that at that time.
Sure. Other professional responsibilities. I like your term accumulator, by the way. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to borrow that.
Oh, yeah. I was just going to say, so how did you go from accumulator to collector to pretty much the foremost authority in? Because explain to people what you do for, and you can name names. We don't mind. What you do for others as far as 1911s.
Well, first and foremost, I am still an active collector. I don't know that, while I'm physically able, that I'll ever be able to get away from that. But, I'm at the age where I don't know how many more years I'll try to maintain the collection that I've got. But, I started... it's kind of interesting. When I came off active duty in 1979, I came back home and I was an 01 dealer, and as I would do little shows here in Indiana, there was a fella I would run into him now and then, and he would see 45s on my table, and he would say, "Do you mind if I sit down and take a look at some of your guns?" And so he did, and he always had on the same blue jacket and plaid shirt and pipe in his pocket and get his little notebook out, and he would take notes. Well,
I love those guys.
I would see him, periodically, once or twice or three times a year. And then in 1991, I walk into a gun show, and there he is. He's released his book. This was Chuck Clausen, Charles W. Clausen, the author. And so we became, really good friends. We realized that we only lived about 2 hours apart.
Hey.
Then I really started becoming, I would say, serious about the collecting, because I think the Clausen book, it allowed us all to understand better what we had. And I have been pretty fortunate up to that time to have a relatively good eye, buying guns that, you may not know every single part, whether or not it is original, but you do develop a pretty good eye regarding original finish. The signs of refinish are the same regardless of what you're looking at. So, you could pick out some pretty good pistols, but it was really nice to have the information to, separate the wheat from the chaff. And that really defined, collecting, and it really impacted the market. When the book was first released in 1991, a military 45 was $400 or $500, and in the next 10 years, those $400 or $500 guns were $2,000 guns.
Yeah,
and certainly more expensive for the rare variations.
Yeah.
So,
well north of there now.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. They, to get anything decent, they start at about 3,000 and kind of go off into infinity from there.
Yeah, they're really starting to take off, even more so than single actions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think, at one time the Luger was the most collected handgun in the world, and it's kind of seen its day, and I think a lot of the single-action Army collectors, it's almost like 45 collectors now. We're aging, and as values go up, sadly, it prices a lot of guys out of the hobby.
Yeah.
It was a lot easier. I can't say that the guns have ever been inexpensive, but everything is relative. But now, they've appreciated, so quickly, just at astronomical rates. When I bought my first Singer, I paid $24,000 for it.
Wow.
And that gun today is, $250,000, $300,000 gun.
Yep.
May all your investments pay off so handsomely.
Well, it's I've never done bad, buying a Corvette or a good gun. If you buy the right thing, it's
True that.
it's a pretty sound investment.
Yeah.
So.
Well, we'll have to talk about Corvettes.
I was going to say, boy,
I've got a few myself. Yeah.
you just landed right in the pool.
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
Yeah,
Gosh, we don't want to go there.
Fair enough. But people from all over call you to confirm that their guns are what they are. How I met you originally was we sold a Colt Ace about a year ago, and we had lots of pictures. It had a Colt letter, and it was just an absolutely beautiful gun. And the gentleman that bought it contacted you and sent you over a few pictures, and you nailed it immediately as a fake. And then I called you thinking, "Oh, come on, you can't do that from pictures." And then you convinced me within 30 seconds, and then had me take a couple of parts off and was like, oh,
just on a handful of pictures, you were able to discern.
I was like, you can't do that from pictures, and you did. So, hats off to you. We refunded the man his money. We sold it at a later auction as what it actually is, and I was just like, very impressed with that. So,
well, I think a lot of that boiled down to. I remember that gun. It was an early service model Ace, or at least you thought it was, when it was actually an Argentine.
Yeah, that was it.
And, back when the Argentines came in, they were pretty inexpensive, and some people that, shouldn't have been doing it, they faked a lot of guns. So, I had seen that before, but the profiles, the frames were made differently, the curvature in the front strap and recoil spring housing, dust cover, that was different. The amount of flat surface before and after the grips, these were things that you and I discussed. And that's how it was so easy, to see that was not, a Colt receiver.
Mm-hmm.
And you shouldn't feel bad, one of the major auction houses a few years ago, they were trying to sell a Singer that was an Argentine.
Oh,
and they weren't very happy when I called it out. But,
But Scott, it had snuck past Colt.
Yeah.
They make the blame thing.
Yeah, our gun did have a Colt letter.
But on that one, it was a little bit easier. It was a serial number of a gun that I had actually purchased.
Oh, that would have that definitely.
Familiar.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was. We always knew that there was a fake with the same serial number, but I never knew where it had landed.
Yeah.
We knew where it was, 30 years ago, but that's the first time that it actually surfaced.
Well, we tried to do some background on it. We believe that a guy that used to be in the beach cities out in Southern California did it and then sold it through a reputable auction company at the time. And the gentleman that bought it is a dear friend and a very reliable collector. So, he was taken aback for a minute, but he took it very well and said, "Man, just go ahead and resell it as what it is." And
what are you going to do? But good for him. But this is real Sherlock Holmes stuff, Scott. This is great.
Well, and over the years, I don't know. I show. I think I show one or two fake service model Aces on my website that were made out of Argentines. And there were a lot of guns. I've looked at a few Singers, that were faked out of Argentines.
Mm-hmm.
And just recently, in about the last year, I authenticated a Singer for a well-known dealer, and turned out it was a Remington Rand.
Ooh.
It was manufactured out of a Remington Rand. So the only thing on that gun that was original, it had original Singer grips.
Wow.
Which are pretty valuable, in and of themselves. But, it's tougher, if you're on the end of having owned the gun for 20 years, but you know,
Yeah.
it's nice to be able to at least identify it and know what you've actually got.
Well, it is.
You asked what I do, and you know, I first and foremost I collect, but you know, I've got a website, and people subscribe to that site. It's $40 a year. You know, it's not a ton of money, but I show over 250,000 photographs of about 13 or 1,400 1911s now, and
Wow.
adding photographs. all the
$250,000. Yeah,
time.
that's $40 worth.
Hey, Scott, listen, we gotta take a quick 1 minute break.
Sure.
Don't hang up, okay? And we'll get to you as soon as we get back.
We
and
have some
we'll discuss.
questions.
Yeah, we'll discuss about your website. We'll get the address to it and everything. All right, you're listening to Gunslingers right here on,
The Gunslinger Syndicated Radio Network.
and we'll be back right after this.
Yes, sir.
This is the new commercial coming in town.
Yeah.
Hey, it's Jeff from Gunslinger Gun Shops and Auctions. Do you have or know of a gun collection, be it one gun or 1,000 guns, looking to be sold? Let me help you. I've been in business here in California for 28 years, so I know how to do it. How to get it sold for maximum value, and most importantly, how to get it sold legally. Personal collections or
good.
estates, and we come to you. We not only sell firearms, we sell edged weaponry, art, coins, and jewelry. If it goes in a man cave, we got you covered. Our customer base spans from South Africa to Alaska, every state in the Union, and all over Europe. We literally have thousands of bettors at every auction. We offer finder's fees, too, for collections you refer to us. Go to gunslingerauctions.com for phone numbers, hours, location, and any questions you may have. Go to gunslingerauctions.com, and we'll see you at the auction. Now, everybody all together, that's gunslingerauctions.com.
Hurricane rocks in the hot sun. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won. Welcome back, everybody, to Gunslingers right here on.
The Gunslinger Syndicated Radio Network.
And we're listening to one of the most foremost guys in the 1911 world. Scott, you still there?
Yeah, still here.
Very
Didn't
good.
scare you off with our singing. Good.
Yeah. No, I started off with asking you, what the heck did I ask you to begin with? I forgot.
Favorite 1911 or?
Yeah, well,
The one that's missed.
yeah, the one that.
Oh, yes.
the one that missed. Now, what can you actually pick a favorite in your collection, or I can't? It's like picking a favorite song. I can give you maybe a top 10, but I can't do one. Can you pick a favorite?
You know, I don't know that I've got one particular favorite because, you know, to so many people, they look at these guns and they all look alike. But if you know a little bit about them, or the more you know, the more differences you see. So there's so many different sub-variations that it's hard to pick a favorite. Honestly, I think if I were picking a favorite, you know, it wouldn't necessarily be the most valuable gun I've got, but, you know, I kind of collect history. I probably have, I don't know, maybe 50 or 100 identified pieces. And the more I know about the person who was issued or officers that purchased the guns and their stories, you know, those are really cool. You know, real briefly, you know, 2 or 3 of my favorites. One is a Harvard med school surgeon who was killed on the battlefield in August 1918 in France and awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, you know, highest award for valor next to the Medal of Honor. And, you know, I've got the telegram where his wife was notified that he was wounded on the battlefield. I've got the handwritten letter from the chaplain who was with him when he died on the battlefield. In fact, she got the telegram in August when he was wounded, and she didn't know anything until she received the letter in November from the chaplain to find out that he had died that day. And, you know, I mean, that's a piece that speaks to me. Or another doctor assigned with the Marines that was at Guadalcanal, Tarawa, and Saipan, awarded the Silver Star at Saipan, and his job was simply to treat Marines shot in the head and face. And I've got 2 newspaper articles. He was from the Boston area. I've got one written by the Boston Globe and a second article, another Boston newspaper. But the last article, well, let's see, in 1943, the Boston Globe article said that he had already treated, I think it was 648 Marines shot in the head and face. And then in 1944, after Saipan, when he came home, the article indicated that he had treated over 2,500 Marines shot in the head and face.
Wow.
And I've got all of his gear, his medical kit. I've got, all the history. And, there's, like I say, all the identified pieces. The more you find out about the people, it just raises the hair on your arms. And
that's more like an altar than a museum at this point.
We had a 1911 come in several years back, and it was engraved on the side, given to a Captain O'Keefe up in Canada from the city of Winnipeg in 1918. We looked him up, and he's a Victorian Cross winner. Yeah.
Wow.
And I got a letter from Colt that stated that this gun went to the city of Winnipeg in 1918. And so I think it's pretty legit, and I've had a few people look at it. I've had some pretty large offers on it, but I haven't been able to part with it yet. So.
Yeah, well, and I think it's, those are the ones that are, really hard to ever think about parting with, selling.
Yeah.
But, now, if you were to ask my wife, Vicki, her favorite gun, that's real simple. That's Colt 1911 number 403. And so she identifies with that when we display, and usually that gun will be in a display when we display. If I start getting that out and showing it to people, she starts giving me the evil eye. She's pretty attached to it.
I have a friend out here who claims that he has a Singer prototype. He's been a long-time customer, and he's actually fairly famous. So I'm not going to mention any names, but what
are the chances?
Yeah, I'd love to get pictures of it and send them to you. See what you think. But he's a little stingy.
I remember years ago. Chuck Clausen called me one day, and I ran up there because he had received what he thought was a Singer prototype. So we ran up and spent the day looking at it, and we did determine, in fact, that it was a Singer prototype. At that time, it came from a gentleman in Arizona, but we're probably talking 20 years ago, so it's hard to say.
Yeah, it could be the same gun. This guy's pretty
very
well off.
Yeah, possibly. Do you know if it has a number put on the side of it that was not there? Like a dealer or somebody put a number on the gun. I think probably to log it in. This one had a number that was added.
I do not, because I've never seen it. Like I said, I'd love to get pictures of it, but he has not. He keeps promising to bring it into my auction, but there's promises and then there's promises.
Right. Sure.
Okay, so
and a year or two ago, Cowan's auction here in the Cincinnati area brought me up a Singer that I looked at, and it was kind of cool. It was actually a cutaway, and it came from a Singer employee. It had a boatload of documentation from the Singer employee.
Wow.
And it had the same slab-style stocks on it. The gun was 100% Singer. That was the first Singer cutaway that I had seen.
Yeah.
So things like that. And supposedly that guy got 2 of them, one for himself and one for his brother. So we don't know if that second gun will ever surface. But
wow,
what a good brother.
Yeah. So, but prototypes, and whether or not they're prototypes, there were guns that are sometimes identified as prototypes that were either rejects that got out of the factory, or one of my Singers, was a presentation to the CEO of Sperry Corporation, and of course, Sperry did so much work for the Army Air Force, and of course the singers went to the Air Force,
Yeah.
Army Air Force. So, but regardless, yeah, I would love to see the photographs. Maybe I'll get it in hand one day and be able to authenticate it.
I will do what I can. Scott, we only got about a minute left before we got a hard break. So tell us about your website.
Yes, please.
M1911 info. They can just do the m1911info.com, and I think it's a pretty good resource. I own most of the guns in the Clausen books and other books, and the primary thing you get through there is just a boatload of photographs and information. So every photograph on the site are photographs that I've taken. I don't rely on secondhand information or someone else's photographs. So everything that you see on the site is my opinion and my photographs.
All right.
Nice. Look at that. Awesome.
I will be, and you said it's $40 a year?
Yes.
Yeah, I will be joining on Tuesday because we're always looking for more and more information.
We need it.
Yeah. So, Scott, it was a real pleasure to talk to you. I sure appreciate you coming on.
What a fun interview.
Yeah, and hopefully we can get you back on there. I know there's a ton more questions out there. We want to pick your brain about everything we can. So thank you so much, Scott.
All right.
Okay, Scott.
Well, fantastic.
Thank you, sir. Thanks again.
God
we'll
bless
talk to you later.
sir.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you again.
All right, guys, in our second
Power
packed hour, this is time for phone calls. Give us a call. What's the number?
866-870-5752. Once again, 866-870-5752.
Give us a call. We got a few that we'll get to right away. You're listening to Gunslingers right here on
the Gunslinger Syndicated Radio Network.
And we'll be right back.
Can you imagine?
No, I really couldn't. I mean, there's collections and then there's collections.
He's got so many. I mean, fill up an auction just full of 1911s. He'd be.
The one question I wanted to ask him, I didn't get a chance to, was, do you collect anything else? 1903s, 1908s, we got lots of. The same guy, he's been bringing me in, he's got several thousand, and he's been bringing me in about 25 every auction. And he brought us in some real daisies for September. Real daisies. Our phones are blowing up.
I had questions on here seeing if our phones were okay, but I was like, yeah, we're getting through this interview. We're all lined up already.
Yeah.
But thank you guys. Keep calling in. As soon as one drops, you'll be writing up next. So keep coming. 866.
Again, most popular platform in American handgun.
Yep.
And for just cause.
Well, we got Mark in Woodland Hills, Captain Rick, Jay from L.A., Tom in Brentwood, and one's coming in right now. And Captain Rick's one of the people.
My Malaysian man trap has worked again.
Got me. I cannot escape.
I like to see the phones all lit up.
With SRN News, I'm Tasha Stevens. 2 firefighters have died, another is in surgery after reportedly being ambushed while responding to a brush fire in Idaho. The firefighters were responding to a call in Coeur d'Alene. County Sheriff Robert Norris saying an active shooter continued to fire at law enforcement with high-powered rifles. The group responded to a small brush fire that started to grow when they were then shot at by a person firing from the woods.
Who the hell shoots firefighters?
Expert Matthew Continetti says the attack by the U.S. and Israel has crippled Iran.
The Iranian nuclear program is devastated. A program is more than enriched uranium. It's the centrifuges, it's the facilities, it's the scientists, and it's the weapons, it's the missiles. And between Operation Rising Lion and Operation Midnight Hammer, all of those elements of the program
This
were
is
damaged.
SRN News.
Larry Marino here. We need your help to send care packages to our troops in honor of 4th of July. Independence Day now less than a week away. We need those phones to light up. Care packs are ready to go. Packed full of all sorts of goodies and treats. Even a personal air conditioning. We can't send any of them without your donations. And sadly, the phone lines are way too quiet. On this final weekend, would you help out in sending care packs?
Do me a favor, can you, real quick, run in and ask him what's going on with line 5? It shows us ready, but there's nobody, nothing there.
Donate $500, get a $75 food certificate. Donate $1,000, get a $100 food certificate. But do it now. The number to call: 833, the number 2, and the word troops. 833-287-6677. 833, the number 2 troops. Or online at am870.info.
What if you could stop government intrusion into your life? This is great.
Yeah, he just had to get more info onto there.
Fundamental rights that the government can never take from you. You are the rulers of the government, not subject to it. Tune into the Global Freedom Report, where I will show you how to free yourself from government control.
What can you do to protect and defend your liberty? Find out Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. live, right here on AM 870, The Answer.
When you're ordering food for your workplace, are you still using a spreadsheet? Not with EasyCater, the online platform for ordering and managing food for the workplace. Come on, manually inputting lunch requests in all those little boxes? You don't need that kind of sheet in your life. EasyCater was built for business. It's simple, smart, and way more...
Cold in here today.
A little bit.
I walked over there. It was even colder. I was like, what the hell's going on here?
Well, you remember last week Leon was saying, what do you guys hang meat in here?
Bring out your dead.
I'm not quite dead yet.
I've seen this.
You've seen what?
Come back on Tuesday. Can you imagine a world without those guys?
No.
They just completely transformed humor.
100%.
We went from Leave It to Beaver to I have no idea what's going to happen next.
Yeah. Well, and now for something completely different.
And now for something completely different.
AM 870. The Answer.
This should be us. Yep, here we go. I spell M-A-N. Dude. Oh. Well, welcome back, everybody, to Gunslingers right here on
The Gunslinger Syndicated Radio Network, folks.
And now it's time for one of my favorite parts of the show, phone calls.
Here we go.
Let's get to our friend Captain Rick. I want to say thanks for holding on so long. What's going on?
Hey, Captain.
Well, you know what? That was an exciting segment. You know, I was glad to listen on hold. I actually heard my commercial for my show.
I did
and,
too,
you know,
yeah.
I just realized something.
Huh.
My commercial is more exciting than the show itself.
Oh,
come on. You're riveting.
Oh, boy, I tell you. You know, I really like that segment. You know why when I lock up all my firearms collection in the closet, they don't get lonely?
Never alone. Never alone.
There you
Side
go.
by side.
Well, they got all kinds of friends in their chambers.
We got
What's your favorite music, the Chambers Brothers?
Oh, they were the greatest. You know, here's a question next time you have Serpa Rick on, because he's a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see how the battle's going with the California roster. What's coming up? You know, we've had some minor losses, but not. It's still like the same, because I'm really interested in the new Walter has a PP, not the PPK. They're coming out with, I think it's commemorative. I'm not really sure yet. Do you know about that new Walter, the PP? I think it's in 380.
Well, the standard PPK is usually in 380. It can also come in 30 .32 auto and also in .22. But the James Bond one that everybody always wants is usually the .380. Yeah.
Well, they got one coming out that's not a PPK; it's a PP, which I believe was their original.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be very interesting. So I'm very interested if you could have a segment next time you have Serpa Rick on to talk about, the roster, because I tell you, the roster, even in the ideology and theory, doesn't make it safer. People have different sizes, women and men. The more variety and the more stuff on the roster, the safer it is for everybody, because everybody is different. So that roster, is absolutely defeats the purpose that it claims to try to do.
Yeah, but that was never the purpose. The California gun roster was what he's talked about. And any handgun to be sold in the state of California, manufacturer must submit 3 guns of each color, type, and barrel length, pay an extortion fee to the Department of Justice, then have it tested. Once it's passed the test, which is amongst other things, you have to drop it from 6 feet.
Drop it from overhead.
Yeah,
for most
because
people.
that happens to guns all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you pay another extortion fee, then it goes on the list. If it's not on the list, you cannot buy it and sell it or import it into the state.
Unless you're law enforcement, then it's safe.
Yeah.
Or if you purchase it from law enforcement,
now you've become
it's safe.
Yeah.
It's a magical mystery.
And I know where it's at. It went to a judge ruled against it. They put a stay on it. Then it went to the 3-judge panel, and that voted for us. Then it went to the en banc. They voted against us because it was like 6 to 2, leftists versus normal people. And now it's waiting on the Supremes.
And like you said, it limits people to be safe and comfortable, because you'll never fire anything you're not comfortable with, and so that'll limit people's experience.
Well, guns like the Smith & Wesson Model 29, the most powerful handgun in the world. Okay,
which by the way, was safe for decades,
but now is unsafe according to California. And all it ever was a backdoor way to get guns away from us. Yep. It's no more
Rick,
and no less.
If you're looking for logic, there is none except for their desire to control.
Yeah.
It's the illusion of safety.
It's horrible. It's horrible what these people do, and they use it as, they posture for their campaigns, and they do nothing to prevent, what they call gun violence, the criminals. These laws don't prevent bank robbers and cartel members and the human trafficking and the gang members. Well, when you got Leon's coming, is he coming up next week?
No, he was here last week, and we'll have him back in August.
Well, when he comes back in August, you can confirm this, because half of all the Chevys ever made are still on the road, and the other half made it home.
Oh, I'm pretty sure that was Ford's, but what Ford stands for what again? Fix or repair daily.
Yeah.
Found on road dead.
Fix it again tomorrow.
There you go. All right, Rick. Thanks for the call.
Thanks, Captain. Great.
Awesome, great segments today.
Thank you, sir. Talk to you later. All right, let's jump over to Jay in Los Angeles, who's also been waiting a long time. Jay, thanks so much for waiting.
How's it going?
Good. What can we do for you?
My name is Jay Margolis, New York Times bestselling author. I currently wrote a New York Times bestseller called The Murder of Marilyn Monroe, Case Closed.
Okay.
And I want to talk about Robert Kennedy and the assassination of Robert Kennedy. I'm writing a book called Exposing Bobby Kennedy's True Assassin. And it wasn't Sirhan, at the Ambassador Hotel.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It turns out that there were 2 other gunmen behind Kennedy who were also firing while Sirhan was firing facing Kennedy, so they were in the opposite direction behind Kennedy. My question is about gun knowledge, and I was going to ask you guys some questions. Now, normally it's been determined that Sirhan was firing the Ivor Johnson cadet revolver 22, firing 22
caliber.
bullets.
I don't know that it was an Ivor Johnson. I thought it was a H&R.
Yeah.
Harrington and
no,
Richardson.
The H&R was the gun that was owned by Thane Eugene Caesar, who was the second shooter behind Kennedy, who was wearing an A security guard uniform at the time.
Okay.
He is known as the second shooter. And he did own one during the time. He lied to authorities and said he sold his H&R 922 before the assassination in February, but the assassination was in June 5th, 1968. He really sold it in September, a few months later.
Okay.
And so he sold it to Jim Yoder over there, and he, got some payment for that. But my point is this: that he also had that was a 9-shot gun.
Yeah.
And Sirhan's was 8-shot gun. Now, when you look at the ballistics here, there were 6 other victims besides Kennedy got shot one time each. That accounts for 5 of the 8 supposed bullets of Sirhan. Now, Kennedy was fired upon 4 times. One bullet went harmlessly through his suit coat, and then one bullet went into his armpit and it lodged into his neck and stayed there. And then one bullet went into his head and stayed there. So that accounts for 5 plus 2 is 7. And then there's another a bullet that also went into his armpit before the headshot. The second bullet that went in his armpit that actually went through and through. And so what we're dealing with is you got 5 plus 2 is 7. And then there were FBI agent William Bailey asserted that he found 2 bullets lodged, 222 caliber bullets lodged at the door frame. That's 9. What that means is that's one more than Sirhan had this gun, and that means there's more than one shooter. Now, my question for you is, the one that went into Kennedy's head was a hollow point, and it exploded. So when Sirhan, when the autopsy surgeon, Dr. Thomas Noguchi, did the autopsy on Robert Kennedy, he never was able to determine if that was a 22 caliber bullet because it had exploded so much. It was too fragmented.
Mm-hmm.
And so my question is, we know that the gun that Caesar had, the H&R 922, was a 22 caliber. We know that Sirhan's had a 22 caliber. But my book also, I interviewed witnesses who saw a third shooter. So we don't know what caliber this person was firing. Now, could it be, Caesar always said that he was carrying the 38, at the time. But isn't that a little bit loud? Because some of the witnesses said that the gunshots were not, really loud.
Well, I don't think a 38 necessarily is going to be that much louder in a small room than a 22 is going to be.
In a closed environment, a 22 is going to sound like an act of God.
Yeah, so,
right.
But some of the flaws I've seen with some of the things that, documentaries and such that I've seen about this, people say, well, there's a hole here, but they never proved there was an actual bullet in there. So, they're talking about holes, but if a hole was made
through and through,
a bullet, yeah, I'm talking about in the door, and let's face it, the LAPD did a pretty rugged job of, they tore the whole door out and the door, what do you call it, around the door?
The jam.
The door jam, and then they disposed of it. I mean, there was some pretty shoddy work going on, and so that would always tend to lead people to think that, maybe this is a conspiracy. It's hard to say. I mean, I wasn't there.
Right, I know what you're saying. You're trying to assert that there could have been ricochets to account for that. William Bailey made an affidavit in which he said he looked into the actual holes. Now, that's you're right. You have to be responsible about this. You don't know if they're ricochets or just holes.
Mm-hmm.
And so Bailey said he's an FBI agent. His credibility has never been challenged. His affidavit was by Vincent Bugliosi. He did the Manson murder thing.
Mm-hmm.
A famous attorney. I'm sure you know who he was.
And writer, yeah.
He took an affidavit from William Bailey, this FBI agent. And the FBI agent, if you looked at the recent President Trump released reports, the FBI is asserting a second gunman scenario while the LAPD is trying to cover up to try to do a one gunman scenario.
No.
Now, what I'm trying to tell you is that there at least one more bullet can be provable just by the physical evidence. So what I just mentioned with one bullet each, and each of the 5 victims were picked out of their bodies. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Mm-hmm.
That's not ricochets. There were 2 lodged in Kennedy. That's 7. 2 in the doorframe. That's 9. That's physical evidence. That's not ricochets. I mean, I studied it very closely.
Mm-hmm.
No, absolutely.
Sirhan did not have time to reload. That's not in dispute.
Yeah.
He only had 8 bullets in his gun. Caesar had 9. But my point is this, is that I'd like to know, what are the other possibilities of a caliber bullet? Could something that was a hollow point be that would mushroom into Kennedy's head? If we're not determinant that it's a 22, and it made a pretty big hole, there were some people that asserted that it made twice as big a hole as a 22. What kind of gun would that be? Or could it be?
Well, if it was twice as big, it could have been a 38, a 45, a 357. 357 would have gone straight through.
But there would be so much more.
Yeah.
There's so much degrees. A 22 caliber bullet's going to weigh between typically 32 and 40 grains. Anything at a larger caliber is going to be twice that weight easily and more.
Mm-hmm. A standard in the day, a standard 38 caliber would have been
158.
Yeah, 158 grains, which is
4 times as much leftover material.
Yeah,
So let me ask you this. A lot of people said that Sirhan's gun was so small, being an Ivor Johnson, that you could have covered it with your hand.
Yeah.
right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now my question is this. Now, when I interviewed this third gunman witness, who I also had placed under professional forensic hypnotism by a court-approved hypnotist, this person who described the gun that the third shooter was firing with his right hand, the third shooter's hand, they described it as like a bigger gun, bigger than something you could hold in just your hand. So what could that be?
That could be barrel
I'm
length.
not a gun expert, so I don't know.
Yeah, that could be a lot of different things. And listen, Jay, we're coming up on a break, so we got to go.
Okay,
but keep us.
Helped me a lot. I just wanted to kind of get some ideas. floating around.
Well, we appreciate it, and give us a call another time, and we can see what else we can do. But you better quote us nicely.
Jay Margolis, people.
Don't worry about it. I don't ever misquote anybody.
Okay, very good, Jay. Thanks for the call. We'll talk to you later.
Jay, appreciate it.
Hey, thank you.
Bye bye. Okay, that opens up a line.
866-870-5752.
All right, give us a call. We are taking calls now.
Let's go.
We'll be right back.
Yes, sir.
That guy went with him, huh?
Yeah.
Murray Mulhausen.
Yeah.
Yes,
Man.
Unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, what
a lot
a
of
shame.
talent. Imagine if that guy had another 20 years of writing songs.
Well, that's the thing, too, is that it was very rumored that he was actually trying to get out of the entertainment business altogether. That he wanted a kind of a quiet life with his wife, and they had a nice place out in the country, they say.
Yes.
That's what the rumor has been. But, gosh, just the writing of that guy, how to tell a story, it just... Man.
And deliver it.
Yes, absolutely.
I've seen an awful lot of documentaries on the Kennedy thing, and a lot of the stuff, there's holes, but those holes could, they were never confirmed that they were anything other than holes.
So plausible explanations.
and-
Again, as you say, 158 grain bullet. If that was lodged in somebody's cranium,
Oh, yeah, forget about it. And it wouldn't have been a hollow point likely in 68.
Now you say you love me. Oh, after being so untrue, I want you to cry. I want you to say, I want you to oh, I cried a river over you. Welcome back.
that's the complete performance.
I tell you what,
Oh,
and
my
I'm so sorry to the people online.
You know what?
But if you're watching, you got the whole show.
Yeah, but they can't hear it, so I'm not having a spastic attack. I'm just doing some Joe Cocker.
As a kid, I thought that's how all rock stars performed. I thought they all had a nice little twinge to their body and could get it out there like that.
First time I saw Joe Cocker, I was like, "Oh wow, look! Isn't that neat?" All right, let's get back to the phones. Mark in Woodland Hills. Mark, how are you?
Good evening, gentlemen. It was good news to hear that Mexico lost that $10 billion lawsuit.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
and thank you for that question to bring it up to Rick. He really did think that was a great question. I appreciate it. That's why we have the best audience on radio.
I have a joke for you, too, before we end tonight, but this makes sense for why people should get the app on their phone called BillBlasterApp.org, because we need to contact Senate. I've been doing it myself. The bad news is the Senate has an unelected parliamentarian who is only supposed to help senators submit a bill in its proper form, not by themselves to remove some of its articles. The problem is we have a current Senate parliamentarian who was appointed by Harry Reid. I'm sure you all remember him. And she is a total partisan machine democrat. She just stripped out some provisions that would end tax and regulation of silencers, as well as other stuff like ending child gender mutilation or taking illegal aliens off of the rolls for Medicare and Medi-Cal here in California. She took those off. And what happened? It was the establishment rhinos in the Senate who turned a blind eye to it so that they don't take blame from MAGA and they avoid the narrative direct attacks by the alphabet mafia, media propagandists and such. So we've got to use every tool in our quiver here. We definitely need to use BillBlasterApp.org and contact these Congress people, both at their website, and most of them are on X and Facebook also. But I do have some lighter for you if you're interested in a joke in how Europeans compare heaven and hell.
As long as it's clean, go ahead.
Okay, Mark. I think Mark will like this one. The Europeans say heaven is where the cooks are French, the police are British, the mechanics are German, and the lovers are Italian, and everything is organized by the Swiss. They believe hell is where the cooks are British, the police are German, the mechanics are French, and the lovers are Swiss, and it's all organized by the Italians.
You know what? I'm going to use that.
Yeah, that's pretty good,
freaking
actually.
brilliant.
That's good.
All right, gentlemen.
Organized
God
by
bless
the
y'all and what you're doing.
Thank
we
you,
really
sir.
need you guys out there. So
God bless you.
never let them stop you, brother.
Okay,
Thank
man.
you.
Thanks, Mark. We'll talk to you later.
Mark, always good. Always
All
good.
right, let's jump out to Joe in Santa Barbara. Joe, how are you?
Pretty good, and you guys?
Good,
Doing good. How are you?
Where are you picking us
Yeah,
up
a
out?
quick question on it's a kind of a gunsmithing question on my first gun I got back in 1983. It's a first generation Model 59, built in 1981. Real nice condition. Not that it's a valuable gun or anything, but it came in the box and everything. But I noticed that it's notoriously got a problem for ramping anything but FMJ for 9mm. It's got someone said maybe a gunsmith could massage it to where you could take hollow points without it jamming. Ever heard anything constructive about that chance?
Boy, I would love to be more help than either Jeff or I are about to be. That's kind of one of the knocks on that particular platform. It was an early offering, and they really hadn't figured it out. Anything you can find with an ogive as close as possible to ball ammunition, or maybe one of the polymer-tipped rounds that has that similar ogive going up. But other than that, man, the gun wasn't really built.
Unfortunately, Smith & Wesson was really known for revolvers, and then when they started
that's
stepping
semi-auto proved it.
Yeah, and they started coming out with a 39, the 59.
And it's a good gun, but
as long as
with a butt.
Yeah, you got to pretty much shoot ball ammo out of it. Man, we are running literally out of good gunsmiths.
We're in SoCal.
It's a dying breed of
It
engineers.
really is. So I don't even know anywhere to send you.
Well, I know they kind of cured the problem. I don't know if it cured it perfectly, but the Model 659 and then the third generation 5906, I hear, don't have the problem.
Well, and they have the whole M&P series, and those things are
great.
fantastic. Yeah. So.
Oh right, yeah.
But
newer guns.
But
you could spend a lot of time, effort, and money trying to undo what Smith baked into the cake.
Yeah.
And you'd probably be better served.
Getting
enjoy
the cake.
Enjoy the gun. Respect it for what it is, because they are starting to get a little bit. They're starting to get a little bit valuable, a little bit collectible.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you wanted a gun for shooting, as Jeff suggests, you might want to look at a
But
new
it would
cake.
probably be too cost prohibitive to have somebody redo that ramp, right?
That's where we're going.
Yeah, it would. And then, of course, now you've kind of boogered the integrity of the originality of the gun, so it wouldn't be worth quite as much as it would be if you left it bone stock. So, when you try and sell it, it's not going to get as much. So
yeah, I think the market's dead on it though because it doesn't ramp hollow points.
Probably so, but again, this is kind of the bummer about buying older Smith & Wesson autos.
And that is
that
just
was
the
my first gun I got at private sale.
Mm-hmm. The one gun, the Model 41, it just always works.
Reliable.
Reliable. It's a fantastic gun, and they just always work. So.
Since I got that in '83 as private sale, and I've never registered it, is it still legal to hold?
Well, it's what you would call a gray area. If you're going to take this out and about, and you get pulled over, and you get a cop that's just wanting to be unpleasant, they will run the numbers, and if it does not come back in your name, they are likely going to take it. What I would recommend if you're going to do that is get on the DOJ, that's Department of Justice website, and get yourself what's called a self-registration form.
Self-registration form.
Yeah, if you fill it out and you send them a check for, I think it's $21 or something.
19.
Is it $19? And they'll put it in your name. Keep all receipts.
Keep your paper trail alive.
Yeah, and they'll put it in your name, and then you can travel with it.
Takes a couple of months for that to happen, but it is so easily done. If it'll give you peace of mind, that might be the best $19 you ever spent.
But the original paperwork, the bill of sale I got, wouldn't be enough, huh?
No, not in California.
And just a little,
even though it was not required prior 1991 or whatever it was.
That's not exactly correct. The handgun transfers has been around for a long time, and it definitely predates 1991. You know that.
Yeah, I think from what I was reading, I may be wrong. You only had to have it registered the first time. Private sales afterwards didn't have to have a formal registration until 90 or 91.
I'll double check that, and I'll try to put it over online. I mean, I'll put it over the air.
Regardless, you get a cop with a
play better safe than sorry.
Yeah,
Let's
if
go
he's
with
had a
that.
bad day, you're going to lose it, and you're going to pay hell to get it back.
And just a little note, you may want to try newer fluted solid copper rounds. That's from Mr. Enigma Online, just in case that might help you
Again,
cycle
the similar
properly.
dive,
Yeah.
Okay.
But trust me, if you have to pay to get it back, it's going to cost more than the $19.
Oh, yeah.
It would
More than
cost to
it's worth.
self-register.
Okay, Joe, we got to go. Thanks for the call. You
Great
bet.
call.
Take
Thanks
care.
so much.
Oh, doggone! I was going to ask him where he hears this from.
Ah, yeah.
I started to.
Santa
and then
Barbara, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, you know what? We got lines open. What's the number, Jimmy?
866-870-5752. Once again, 866-870-5752.
All right, you're listening to Gunslingers right here on
the Gunslingers Syndicated Radio Network.
And we're going to fade out on my favorite Hendrix song.
Let's go.
Radio.
AM 870 the answer. Well, it looks like the Federal Reserve is going to hold off as long as they possibly can before they cut interest rates.
That's funny. They cut interest rates just before the last election.
Dawn from Culver City.
AWN or ON?
It just says, no, DON. It says, question for Mark.
Whether that's a refinance.
Okay.
Question for Mark.
Oh, I shouldn't have done that, Joe Cocker.
Yeah, you get one of those. Can you imagine? How did that guy do a show?
I don't know.
How did he do Saturday and Sunday?
He was
young.
They were built different. There was something about it.
I give you the entire AC/DC career.
Yes.
Right? Unbelievable. We're an hour and a half gone already.
Already. Fastest 2 hours on radio, folks.
I'm Aaron. I'm California Deluxe Windows. Please tune in this Saturday at 6 p.m. on my show, Mr. Liquid Wood.
Mr. Liquid Wood.
It's a curious name.
I've heard his show. I actually like it. He's a very nice guy.
Is that his birth name?
Mr. Liquid Wood? I don't think so.
When he came over, he picked out a name, saw the first billboard. Mr. Liquid Wood.
They were doing his show just before the dock for a while on Sundays.
I have heard his show, and he's definitely on our side.
Yeah.
It sounds like a good guy.
God, cold in here. My hands are cold. My nose is cold.
You'll be over that by the time you get back to your car, though.
Oh, yeah.
Summer's here, man.
Oh, yeah.
Summer landed sometime between Friday and today.
It's what is it? Almost July. I'm late.
None of that was a complaint, by the way. I enjoyed our 2.5 weeks of spring. We don't always get that.
Holy
Yeah, we usually just go straight from
Bang.
winter, bam, right into summer.
Cloudy, 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 cloudy. Thong!
Harvest.
Match grade gunsmiths in Cerritos. Thank you, Joseph. Any good? You know, I keep saying this. There's got to be some 25-year-old young man or woman out there who'd like to go to gunsmithing school for one freaking year, hang out a shingle here in Southern California. You will have yourself a 2-story house in the valley with a swimming pool within 3 years.
Every time that some kid's wondering what he might be, what's a good career, I drop that bomb on them every time.
No
I'm like,
kidding.
Have you thought about...
It's sliding all
Oh,
around.
I tripped over mine already.
Yeah, it was a nice man, that Scott.
Nailed it!
Missed it by that much.
Got your back.
Oh, there you go.
By the way, I'm entirely capable of missing from here.
With the assist.
The Morning Answer with Jen and Grant. This is the Senate parliamentarian. Her name is Elizabeth McDonough. She was hired years ago by Harry Reid.
Yep.
She is trying to sink the bill. Now, Republicans
Oh, Salem says we can't do political. We can't do political anymore.
At all.
Yeah. So they said, no more Chad. So I said, fuck you. And I'm fighting them. Huh?
You're paying for it.
Yeah.
It's your show.
Yeah. Here we go.
This is such a great movie. Such a great song.
I am a man of constant sorrow. I see trouble all my days. I fit very well to old Kentucky, the place where I was born and raised, the place where he was born and raised. Welcome back, everybody, to Gunslingers. No, I'm not yodeling. I don't care.
Not party of forte.
No dignity, sir.
You know what? We've had people waiting so long. Let's get back to the phones. Let's get to Don in Culver City. Don says you got a question for Mark. What
Good
is
evening,
it?
Don.
Yeah, I do. A little bit off topic, but several weeks ago, the subject of the Topanga and Banjo and Fiddle contest came up.
Yes, sir.
And Mark said that he won that. And the reason I'm asking is because in 1987, well, it used to be a bluegrass festival at Follows Camp Bluegrass Festival at the East Fork of the San Gabriel River. And I won the intermediate guitar competition by playing my Guitar Heroes tune. I learned all things I could, and that was Doc Watson. And I
place
played
to go.
Beaumont Rag. And I was just wondering, Mark, what did you play at Topanga?
You got 2 songs. One had to be off the standard list, and you had one that you could do yourself. So we did Blackberry Blossom out of the standard book, and then we did Gioacchino Rossini's William Tell Overture.
Wow.
Nobody saw that, and we did it good. We did it right. Nobody saw that coming, and because we were so jacked.
I played Blackberry Blossom in the key of G like everybody else.
Absolutely, that's God's key. But we were so jacked, we jumped into that about 30% faster than we had ever played it before. And this was one of those, we're going to win or we're going to die.
Yeah, well, Doc Watson was my all-time. I saw him several times at the place called the Ash Grove in West Hollywood.
Great player.
And, I mean, he started the whole flat pick thing as far as I'm concerned, other than Tony Rice and Clarence White. And I saw all those guys.
You listen to any Billy Strings lately?
What's that?
Any Billy Strings?
I've seen him a lot on YouTube.
Okay, the spirit is still alive.
Yeah, I've seen Billy Strings, but I mean, I've got a lot of heroes right now. But anyway, I'm playing dobro right now. That's what I'm playing mostly right now. So.
We were just listening to some dobro in that last song.
Yeah, we sure were.
Yeah, well, that was Jerry Douglas, because that was Dan Kaminsky playing. Basically, that was Union Station, Allison Krauss and Rob Block on banjo, and Jerry Douglas on dobro, and Dan Kaminsky playing guitar. And
you know, you got a bunch of guitar players in this room, and they're all kind of smiling and nodding right now.
Good times.
Yeah.
Well, Doc was my favorite. And he still's my favorite. I mean, I learned all his finger-picking styles, too. First finger-picking style guitar was crazy, kind of crazy. It was Deep River Blues was my favorite guitar song. Finger-style guitar.
I know God took something from him with his eyesight and all that. Man, he sure did give him a gift, didn't he?
But anyway, I love the guy's show. Listen to it every Sunday.
Thank you so much.
And I was just thought I'd throw that in. I called one time before and said, "Got to have a Guitar Slinger show."
Yeah.
Oh.
Just you want to be? Trust me, Jeff knows a thing or two about guitars too. We'll do a
I know,
Gretchen Fender night sometime.
I've got like 14 guitars hanging on my wall. So
Beginner.
So you've just started out then, huh?
That's a good starter kit.
That's a fun call, Don. Thanks.
Don,
Thanks,
thanks for the
Don.
call.
God
we'll
bless
talk to
you.
later. Oh, I don't have any idea how many I have.
You got some. I know you got some nice ones. I was there when you got a new D45. I want to say.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah, but yeah, that one plays rather well.
Those guys still know how to make a guitar. I just sold off. Not just a couple of years ago, I was in the need of some money, and I sold off 175th anniversary herringbone 28.
Oh,
that may be the nicest thing I ever own.
Yeah, I've got two standard 28s, both of them with Fishman pickups, and
great guitars.
Yeah, they really are. And I'm sure people are going, guns, what?
Yeah.
All right, let's get to Tom in L.A. Tom, what can we do for you, sir?
Hey, it's not Tom, it's Sean. How you doing?
Oh, hey, Sean. It says Tom on the board, yeah. Anyway, what can we do for you?
Yeah, he made a mistake, so he's a little busy. Hey, but I just wanted to give information for the last caller, or the two callers ago, about gunsmithing.
Mm-hmm.
I had an opportunity to take my Springfield M14 into both gunsmithing in Westminster, and they did an outstanding job.
Good.
So there was at least one gunsmith that I know of in Southern California, and that's Bolsa Gunsmithing.
Yeah.
They really do a great job.
Very good.
So, and they had the gun back out in a week.
Oh,
so,
that is good. Even more impressive. What did you have done, Sean?
The faller and I had old magazines that were jamming up, which, not surprisingly, it was aftermarket mags, but they were quite old, and they weren't working sufficiently at all. They would freeze up after one round and wouldn't eject, or eject and then freeze up, and so. And I couldn't find gunsmith anywhere in the L.A. general area. It was horrible.
Yeah. So you crossed the Orange County barrier, and
there's Evans Gunsmithing down in the city of Orange, and of course Bolsa is over in Westminster. There are few and far between.
Anybody on our side of the 60?
No, not really. You know, they've chased.
They're all gone. Ben and Davis. Backmeyer's been long gone.
Oh yeah.
I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody. They all got either retired or run out by the city of LA.
Run out by LA, yeah.
So,
we keep saying this. Any 25-year-olds who have mechanical interest, male or female, get into the business, man.
Yeah.
There's a lucrative opportunity.
Yeah. All right, Tom. Thanks for the call.
Okay.
Thanks, Sean.
Take care now. All right, let's jump over to Ed in Riverside. Ed, what can we do for you, sir?
Evening, Ed.
Oh, it's Ed. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Greetings, gentlemen.
How are you?
Ed, Edward. I have been reading this magazine. It's a magazine book. The whole thing is about Ruger and the 75th anniversary, and there's an article in there that talks about Ruger's ARs, and the author talks about how the reliability of the piston-driven system, and then compares that to the reliability of the direct impingement, and the piston is more reliable, but he says that the direct impingement is more accurate. And I'm wondering, why should one system be more accurate than the other, especially the direct impingement, since it makes the gun run hotter and there's more likelihood of fouling with the gas and putting it right where it doesn't need to be, and et cetera. But why should direct impingement be more accurate in an AR platform, or in any platform for that matter?
In the AR platform specifically, more moving parts, more weight. This is going to change the harmonic balance of the gun, and it's going to make it more difficult to, here's the key to this, free float the barrel. There's no way to completely free float a barrel if it's piston driven. Simple as that. With the direct
Well,
gas, again, you have no point of contact other than the gas tube, and that slides back and forth a little bit. So you're all good. That's free floating like the barrel.
Okay.
And a
But as far
good
as
piston gun can be very accurate, and a lousy DGI gun, direct gas impingement, can be inaccurate. So make sure you don't compare apples and oranges here. But if you have a well-built DGI and a well-built piston gun, the piston gun will probably be more reliable, and the DGI will probably a little bit more accurate. So pick your poison.
Okay. I know that, of course, nobody makes DGI M1As or anything. I don't know of any other weapon that runs direct impingement other than the AR. And so there's no other comparison, but the M1A is certainly an accurate piston-driven system, as was the M1 Garand.
It can be. It absolutely can be. Nobody's using an AK variation for a target rifle, right? Even though they did, I know they did make the sniper rifles out of them. But you can get a good direct gas gun can shoot not sub MOA, but sub half MOA. These guys can put at 100 yards. These guys can put 3 into the same hole.
Yeah, that's what I've seen, and
which, by the way, is its own impressive.
Pardon?
I said that's its own impressive. Let there be no doubt about it. They're all so crazy good right now that it's like a Steinway piano with its accelerated action. You know, there are like 12 guys on Earth that can actually work a piano that fast. And there's about a dozen guys on Earth that can shoot these things to their limits. Jeff actually might be one of them, by the way, which is so annoying to me.
Yeah. Well, I am probably not one of those guys who could shoot any of those to their limit, but it just, the mechanics of it puzzled me why the DGI gun should be more accurate, and okay, because there's nothing else and you can free float the barrel.
Just exactly, and you don't have parts banging around up on top of the barrel.
Well, that's true. Now, most of the earlier systems, M1 Carbine, M1A, M1 Garand, have the parts that bang around on the bottom of the barrel.
That's older
Does
technology.
that make a difference?
As a shooter, the lower the bore axis, the less you're going to feel the recoil. Now, this is two different things, and I recognize that. I think what you'll find with M1As is that a lot of them were built to such high-quality standards that you could shoot. You could be within kissing distance of 1 inch at 100 yards.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of handwork that goes into it, and I'm telling you right now, you can buy a $1,500 or $1,600 AR platform that'll do that out of the box.
Right. Yeah, and you cannot buy any AK platform than that.
No.
But I've
probably not.
I've also read that attributed to the ammunition itself, that the 7.62 by 39, it doesn't matter what you shoot it out of, it's not going to be that accurate.
You have a CZ that might argue with that, don't you, Jeff?
I have a CZ 452, and if you get good American-made ammo...
Boy, and there's one of the keys, because, yes, a lot of the Eastern Bloc ammunition is pretty hastily assembled.
Yeah, and with really funky primers and really funkier powder, and the cases made out of what the heck is that? Anyway, Ed, we're coming up on a break. We got to go.
All right.
Thank
you very much.
You betcha.
Have a great week.
You do the same. Thank you, sir.
Good question, Ed.
Bye-bye. Okay. Ooh, little sing-along jump. Love this song. All right, you're listening to Gunslingers right here on
the Gunslinger Syndicated Radio Network.
And we're already coming up in our last
fastest
segment.
2 hours on radio, folks.
We'll be right back. To broken-hearted June. Mm-mm.
Hey, it's Jeff from Gunslinger Gun Shops and Auctions.
Man, anybody else's allergies are really kicking their ass.
Look at my eyes.
Yeah.
My eyes are just...
I have been, for 2 days, just sinus pressure through here. Yesterday, it was so bad, I almost went home early. I was bending over, Ugh.
Is that the change in temperature, the change in barometric pressure, or is there something in the air? I mean, like, I know we just went through spring.
Yeah, a lot of pollen in the air right now.
Because I woke up with what I thought was the beginning of a cold Saturday morning.
Go to gunslingerauctions.com for phone numbers, hours, locations, and any questions you may have. Go to gunslingerauctions.com and we'll see you at the auction. Now, everybody all together, that's gunslingerauctions.com.
Well, East Coast girls are hip. I really dig those styles they wear. And the Southern girls with the way they knock me out when I'm down there. Welcome back, everybody. Our last segment.
Oh, boy.
What?
Man.
It's the last segment. It is. Oh, my God. Well, that means we should have, 30 or 40 people calling right now.
It's usually how it happens. And speaking of which, let's get to our friend Brent in L.A. Brent, how are you?
Shalom, Brent.
Shalom, you great Western gunslingers.
What's going on?
Always good to hear from you, Brent. What's going on?
Well, it was wonderful, as usual, having Leon Kaplan and Flyboy George on last week. And welcome back, Mark.
Thank you. It's good to be back. But it was fun to listen to, wasn't it?
Yes. And I've got a Western singing, shooting movie suggestion for authentic feminists, their men, and any young gunslingers. It's got cowboys, Indians, horses, stagecoaches, steam locomotives, steamships, and music from our great Jewish gunslinging composers, Irving Berlin and Rodgers and Hammerstein. The MGM musical extravaganza from 1950, Annie, Get Your Gun.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's about the miraculous Annie Oakley, Sitting Bull, and Buffalo Bill's wild, unwoke West show. Tragically, few people under 50 even know about this great American lady's real-life story. And I'd suggest, after watching the musical about her, go to PBS American Experience, and they have an episode on Annie Oakley. And it tells about her horribly abused childhood and her fight with William Randolph Hearst and America's early malevolent media, which attempted to destroy her and her reputation and career.
Wow. You know, she really is quite the shoot. Well, was quite the shooter.
She was the real deal.
Oh yeah, the shooting over the shoulder with a mirror. I've tried that just to be a jerk.
You ever hit anything?
I hit the ground with the shell. That's about as yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously they were using bullets that weren't really bullets because you can't.
Otherwise, you'd have killed people in the audience.
Yeah, or a block away or whatever.
Mm-hmm. But so nevertheless,
still the things that she did was just phenomenal.
Yep.
And if you don't think so, try it yourself.
Sure, give it a go.
Yeah,
Come on,
like I did, and just make yourself look foolish.
But she had to learn to shoot just for her survival.
Yeah.
I mean, her childhood was horrendous.
Yeah, she stared off as a hunter. Yeah, and of course, Buffalo Bill was quite the character. And Wild Bill was with Buffalo Bill for a time, and Buffalo Bill was very, very proud of that name. We had some guns come in years and years ago that said William F. Cody.
Oh, yeah.
They were two 1890 Remingtons with beautiful grips. I won't say what kind because you can't sell that kind anymore. And they were all engraved, nickel, and just absolutely gorgeous. So we sent pictures of them to the Buffalo Bill Museum, to which they answered, Buffalo Bill was very proud of that name and would have never had William F. Cody. Yeah, so they were... Again, fakers. So we had to give them back to the man, and he was not very happy with
Good try, buddy.
Yeah, but so, it's really a cool story, and that would make a heck of a Hollywood never makes anything new anyway. So if you're going to redo something, do something good. That would be a
great...
Yeah.
Just the collision of those characters in that time.
And maybe take the songs out of it and make it an actual
Make it a good movie.
I mean,
don't have to make it a musical.
Because Buffalo Bill was no slouch. He was the real deal.
Yeah, so that would be a pretty cool thing.
And Sitting Bull actually did adopt her. He fell in love with her.
Yeah.
He couldn't believe the way she shot.
Yeah, little sure shot.
Yeah.
All right, Brent, as always, thanks for the call.
Thank you, Brent. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll see you later.
You too.
Bye-bye. Really quick, let's jump over to Charles in Oakland. Charles, what can we do for you?
Hey.
Hey, hi there, guys. Hey, I was wondering, this is for when I leave California, but do you know where I could get weldment parts for the micro Uzi pistol clones that exist?
Oh, you know, we haven't had that gun here since 2000. So
This may be outside of our expertise.
Yeah.
It's a great question, but
I heard that there have been reproductions for a single shot that people have been using to get out of the state, but that's just what I've heard. The heavy quotations.
Yeah, I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know where you can get that kind of stuff because, like I said, you can't have it here anymore. So, you know.
Yeah,
they ran the
and of course the semi-automatic Uzi you can pick up in 47 other states, I believe. So once you get, what state are you moving to?
Nevada.
Okay, I'm sure you probably make a few phone calls and probably find everything you ever want to have for that gun, but unfortunately,
and if you'd like to call and neener us when you get there,
let us know.
We'll take it like man.
Show us what free America is like again, because it's been a long time since it's been here. Anyway,
yeah, you should have a problem.
Charles, thanks for the call.
Wish you could be more help.
Sure, no problem.
Bye-bye.
Sorry. Yeah, right?
Yeah, there's not much. There's only so much we can do.
There's
we got
some
another call
things-
coming in. We'll try and get it. Yeah.
Some things that are out of our wheel well over here.
Yeah, I mean, again, since 2000 when we got Gray Davis, we've been, just mired in the anti-gun bills, and that was part of the so-called assault weapons ban, which was so draconian in its originality. Any semi-automatic rifle, any
what a blanket statement just to kill everything.
Okay, so
did crime end in California as a consequence of this? By the way,
shockingly went up.
I'll be darned.
What else is new? When they confiscated all firearms in England, gun crime went up 300%.
Yeah, and I think they're also doing away with anything you can carry. I think their knife ban is coming up. I think they're following suit with Australia. And also, I believe that they will have no more cricket or baseball soon. So anything that may turn into a potential...
a weapon of any sort. Yeah. Instead of punishing bad guys.
Because,
bad guys are scary to go after.
Yeah. Hey, next week we're going to try and get our friend Pete Shiriko in.
Oh, Mr. Shiriko.
So, Pete's a great interview.
Yeah, and he's got a book coming out. Now, for those of you that don't know, Pete was one of the guys, he was one of the jacks in Tombstone.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And Mark got me his number, so I'm going to call him this week, and we're going to try and set him up for next week.
He has a book and a CD coming out.
So
that'll be kind of cool. He runs Caravans West Productions.
Mm-hmm.
This is the guy that you go to if you want especially period firearms in your movie.
Mm-hmm.
This guy has make movies as long as your arm.
Was he at I remember not this last one, but the Antiques Gun Show.
Yeah, we talked.
He's typically at the SHOT Show. He's a character.
Yeah, and he's great. He really is. Great interview and just a nice guy.
Yeah, we've been trying to get him and Frank Stallone on at the same time, both of them being in Tombstone.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought it would be fun to get them both in and they could both talk about it.
We have to make that happen sometimes. I flat love that movie.
Yeah.
And they're both.
Frank is always in and out of town, so he used to answer my calls. He doesn't even answer my calls anymore.
I remember when he used to stop into the Glendora shop. What a treat that was.
He used to come in and buy stuff from us every now and again.
Yeah.
Hey, really quick, September 13th, that's the next auction, guys.
Whoa.
September 13th. We're just about full. We actually may be over full at this point. We just got in a collection of long-range rifles from 375 SHATAC to a couple of Ackley improved rifles.
That's old school.
Oh, man. Some of this stuff, it was a large collection, and holy cow. There's going to be. We've got, we always get some jewelry. We got an MTM watch in yesterday. These things go for $2,000 to plus. That's going. Yeah. It's no Timex, we'll put it that way. Man, we've got everything you can imagine. We've got some really interesting art that's going to go through. We've got a big diorama of a 1800s Pueblo. It with little characters, and it's huge. And we're putting it in. The thing is, we will not ship this.
No,
it's in plexiglass, and it's got to weigh 75 pounds. I mean,
that's got to be cool.
I think I might have built that in grade school as a mission. So you guys just make sure. I'll take a look
Yours
at it.
was built out of bread dough and popsicle
No,
sticks.
it was not. I had to drag it home by myself. Oh
boy,
it was like 70 pounds. My dad was very upset that I ruined the damn thing. Sorry, Dad. Sorry, I was about to go.
Yeah. So anyway. September auction's going to be
same location, yes?
Same location, yeah.
Highway 39 Event Center, folks.
That's it.
You guys want to check it out? They had a great video of a birthday party someone just threw there, and what a cool place to even have your birthday.
Oh
at.
yeah, they rent it out for lots of different parties. You can put bands in there. It's a really fun place.
Oh,
I'm going there next week to check out something that they asked me to come take a look at. So I'm trying to work on getting them to do some car auctions.
That'd be
How cool would that be?
So cool.
Real quick, can I shout out?
Really quick.
We lost a friend of mine and a real good cowboy this week, and I know that the sport is graying, but Phil Grubbs, a.k.a. Hell's Comin', one of the best shooters in the history of the sport, and just such a freaking abrasive, grumpy, fun guy to be around.
Rest
and you
in
know
power.
the sport.
Yeah.
Anyway, rest in peace up there, okay, Phil?
All right, very good, guys. Thanks for all the callers. Thanks everybody in the booths. Don't forget to smile. It's just little curves. That's a lot of things straight. Thank you, Leon. We'll see you guys next week.
Love
Goodbye,
you guys.
everybody.
God bless
Goodbye,
you
goodbye,
guys.
goodbye.